Before we go further, let's just recap a little bit about what we did last week. So last week, we saw the limbs of yamas, niyamas, and asana. These three limbs we attach to the spiritual body of body. And now today we are talking about mind. But what was in there was the 5 yamas and 5 niyamas. The yamas were the ahimsa, non-violence, satya, to be truthful and speak truth, asteya, non-stealing, brahmacharya, celibacy, and aparigraha is no greed, no hoarding. So these are the yamas we learned, which sets this set of rules sets the relationship of a person between society or others. And in the niyama section, the limb of niyama, second limb of 8-limb yoga, we learned about saucha, the purity, integrity, santosha, contentment, tapas, it's do your best at the best self and without worrying about burning. And the tapas is like igniting the fire within, and that fire brings the transformation. Then the swadhyaya is the regular study, and the last niyama was Ishwar Pranidhana, means surrender to the divine power. And the third limb is asana. So asana, as we know, yoga poses popularly. And we also learned that doing all those artistic yoga poses is not actually yoga. But asana, the meaning of asana, when we have the yamas and niyamas are set in our being, then we are ready to do the asana. And asanas are certain stretching of the body that can help us to sit in a position. We can take our steady sit physically and prepare ourselves to go further into the meditation journey. So these were the three limbs we learned last week. Today, we are moving on to the fourth one, fourth, fifth, and sixth. These three links the breathe of mind. So the fourth one, Sanskrit name is pranayama, which is made of two words again. Every word is united and union of two words, right? Yoga is all about union. So the prana is one and the ayam. So prana is the energy and ayam is like expanding. So as we see in this slide, in the figure on the left where the arrows are going out of the body, and in the second figure, a person sitting, all the energy arrows are staying within the body. So let's do some experiment. Even if your camera is off, you can. It is very easy to visualize our own selves in different situations, right? So, for example, I am breathing like this. Can someone at least not speak, if you can speak, that will be great. But if you can chat in the message, what kind of emotions that sort of breathing reveals. You can unmute yourself and speak if you want to. Yes. If I'm breathing fast pace and out of my breath, what could be running in my head?
Stress.
Sorry?
Stress.
Stress, yes. Anxiety, anger could be another thing, right? Yes. And then I am like, oh, that could be like frustration, disappointment, right? So all these examples, I tried to give some facial expressions so that it is more visual and more understanding. I don't know if I looked funny, but that's okay. So basically, when we are in certain type of emotions, our breathing is certain type. And when I see there are so many here are meditators, do we ever be aware when we are in the deep state of meditation, what kind of breathe is going on? We just forget about the breath. If we are not even aware that the breathing process is happening, right? So that goes into a subtle calmness. Basically, my point is, let's go to that figure again. And so when we are not in the right sort of emotions, the energy of our body disperses out of our body. And the prana is the vital energy, the simple oxygen that we breathe in through the nose. When it enters into the body, it vitalizes all the organs and each and every cell of the body. This is the scientific explanation. In spirituality, prana is again another dimension and a lot more details, but we will not go into all that today. Just we will try to understand this in a scientific way. So breathing should be such that can spread the prana evenly in the whole body, like the one we see, all the arrows are within the body parameters. So when we are not in the right type of emotions, to be exact, like anger, frustration, anxiety, stress, we don't breathe enough to provide the vital energy to each and every cell of our body. Then if again, and every transformation, what do we need to get anything transformed? Some sort of heat, right? So some sort of heat, in another word, it's called fire. There is a constant fire burning inside our body, and that is the fire of breathe. And that is, we are supposed to breathe in a certain way that can keep the fire ignited, and that fire resides in the center of our body, just above the belly button. Between the breastbone and the belly button, there is a center, that chakra, that energy disk is called as the Manipur chakra, and that's where the fire resides within the yogic body. So very, very essential to breathe in a certain pattern. So once we breathe in, there's a normal breathe we do. Let's do an experiment now. Just sit in a quiet, doing nothing, and observe what kind of breathe we are doing right now. Just observe, you're not changing anything. We can put one hand on the chest and one on the belly and just feel where the air we breathe in goes in the body. And now let's do some conscious breathing. So I assume everyone has one hand on the belly, one on the chest. And let's do some very deep breath. Inhale very deep so that the belly comes out in the fingers of the hand which is on the belly. And exhale out, pressing the belly in so that the abdominal wall separates from the hand. And we breathe out completely. And let's do one more like that. And then release both hands and just feel what it feels at this moment. And let us add into that breath. Again, one hand on the chest, one on the belly. So once we inhale deep into the belly, we are going to inhale again until the chest wall comes into our hand in the fingers. So inhale deep for the belly first, again in the chest, and exhale out from the chest first, and press belly in. And let's do two more like this. Beautiful. Exhale from the chest first, and the belly goes in. And relax hands and feel what it feels at this moment. So it's the evening time. We all may have come from different sort of day we spent at work, in the house, doing some things, running other errands. But now we are sitting here. We can compare, just mentally go back to the moments 10 minutes ago when we started this class. And now, I believe definitely the energy in the mind is changed. It is more contained and more quieter and calm after just a few deep, mindful, centric breaths, right? So let's get back to the slide to understand it in more deeper sense. So we just learned that irregular, unregulated, or short breathing, when we first just observe what kind of breathing we do, many of us just do, the breathing is done involuntary. There are so many processes in the body, they're run involuntary. We don't have direct control over it. But the respiration is something unique. The physiological phenomena of respiration is both sensory and motor in the nervous system aspect. So it is running by itself also, but we can control it at times if we want to. So that is the biggest advantage we have. So when we did this deep breathing, is it so like we send the air into the belly? Is that true? No, the air actually doesn't go down into the belly, but then how the belly comes out? That is the interesting question, right? So this is the figure of the lungs, and the red part is a transverse horizontal muscle in our body, which separates the chest cavity and the abdominal cavity. And this muscle is very, very much responsible for the whole process of respiration, and it is called diaphragm. So this is a primary muscle used in the respiration. It is in the shape of a parachute. So parachute like an umbrella. So when we breathe in deeply, this diaphragm muscle goes down and creates more room in this upper chest area so that each small uh, portion of the lungs are made like spongy, like body part. So that when we breathe in the air, each holes like a sponge, they expand and the air goes in. So as we try to breathe deep in, the diaphragm goes down and the lungs can expand. So that is what this the beauty of this breath is. We just experienced. And when we breathe like that, we can breathe in more oxygen in. And when we hold the breath in for a moment or two or three, what happens? The exchange of the fresh air containing oxygen inside the lungs, little cells, takes time to do the whole process. So when we pause it, the gaseous exchange becomes more efficiently, and the bad air in the form of carbon dioxide, when we exhale longer, all the bad air, all the toxin, the excretion of our body comes out. So we learned in the last week that the healthy body is, one of the parameter of healthy body is all the excretions are normal. So breathing, taking out carbon dioxide is also one of the excretion of our body does. And that is very, very important. Next thing, this is scientific, but we will not make it too boring, but just a little bit of interesting enough to understand how breathe can bring a quietness that we just experienced. We all experienced 2 minutes ago, right? So how did that happen? This happened because in this figure, we see all these yellow, these are nerves in our body. From top of the spinal cord all the way to the bottom here. And in here, there are certain major nerves. And certain nerves are attached with that big muscle that we just saw in the previous picture, diaphragm. And it's called phrenic nerve and the vagus nerve. Both of these nerves are vital for breathing process. Nerves, basically, they take message from body parts to the brain and from brain to the body parts. They are messengers. So these two nerves which are responsible for the movement of this diaphragm muscle, they both work beautifully, and they are both on the both side, each side. So what happens when we breathe deep in and deep inhale very long, exhale out completely at the like as much as possible, this nerves are relaxed. And before that, I would like to say that the nervous system is divided into two sections majorly. There are many other details into it, but popularly, in general term, they are sympathetic and parasympathetic. So the sympathetic nervous system is that breathing examples we just
Fear,
saw.
flight mode.
When we are angry, we are frustrated, we are not happy, all of those emotions, the fear, frightening, basically the fear, flight, and fight mode. And during most of the day, we are in this mode of nervous system. So all these little cartoon faces, they depicts the examples of the emotions we go throughout the day. But that kind of state in the body stimulates the sympathetic nervous system, and that is responsible for our stress and anxiety and the hyperactive state of mind. But then how can we counteract with that? It is by the breath. When those nerves we saw, when we breathe deep in and out, those nerves takes the calming sensation from the body to the mind and mind to the body and brings the whole being into the calmness. So when we are not breathing enough, shallow breathing is the sympathetic, but we do deep breathing, relaxed, mindful, centric expansion in the right direction, in the right momentum. That kind of breathing activates the parasympathetic nervous system. So when we are happy, loving, blissful, joyful, that all of these are state of mind which brings our whole being into rest and digest and happiness activating state of being, and that is parasympathetic nervous system. So breathing is scientifically very, very important. These are all physical and scientific aspects to prove that how breathing affects our mind. So next, before we go further, let's do one breathing experiment. I will play beautiful sound, and we will try to match our inhalations and exhalation with the sound. So when the sound begins, we will try to start our inhale. How we just practice deep into the belly, more inhale into the chest, and we will hold. As the wordings goes, we will do our breathing. When no wording, we will hold the breath either inside or out. And when the wording starts, we will start wherever we left off. So let's try it for a minute and see how that makes us feel. Can I expect some words of feeling in the chat? How did that feel? Very soothing. Yes. Yeah, so this mindful, happy, yes, calm, quiet. So when we do mindful breathing, we can control our emotions, our mind. So they say that mind and breathe goes together. And as we just learned, when our breathing is fast, in the examples of we are angry, anxious, thinking too much, our breathing is very shallow and uncontrolled. When we are breathing slowly, our mind gets quieted, our thoughts gets quieted. The flow of thoughts is also less. So this is the one direct way to control the mind. Breathing is a weapon, we can say, that we can use to control the flow of mind, the flow of thoughts in the mind. So let's go further into our journey. What is next? The next limb we are gonna learn about is called Pratyahara. Pratyahara is the fifth limb. So first four are yamas, niyamas, asana, and pranayama. They are connecting our being with the external world. And the pratyahara now comes and we setting us to be prepared to go inward. Pratyahara, again, made of two words, union of two words. Prati is the opposite direction, and ahara is take it in. So from our senses, ears, eyes, nose, mouth, and the touch, our tendency is to approach the outer world. But by this limb, the virtues of this limb and practicing the aspects of this limb, pratyahara, we can withdraw our senses to inward and prepare our mind and body to go into the higher stages of meditation. So, and this is the first stepping stone from external to the internal world. This can be done very well with this mudra. The yoga is also all about different mudras we make with the hands. Some mudras are just fingers, but this one is a special for, it's called Shanmukhi mudra. And this is the combination of the, let's practice another hands-on practice of the understanding the limbs of pranayama and the pratyahara together. So let's make this mudra. To make this, first we put our thumbs into on ears, and then at last, when don't press it too hard so that it is it can affect our balance. Just gently press them, but not now, otherwise you won't be able to hear to me. So just put thumbs on the ears, both fingers on above the eyebrows, index fingers, big fingers on the nose bridge, ring fingers below the nose, and pinky fingers below the lips. So whoever is practicing this mudra right now, they would understand that by doing this, the senses are blocked. We cannot see, we cannot hear, we can breathe, but the sense of smell, we are blocking the mouth, and the touch sense is also blocked. So let's experiment. We will keep the mudra on, mouth is closed. We will inhale through the nose, exhale through the nose, longest possible breath. And we will chant Om when we breathe out, but our mouth will be closed. We will chant Om with mouth closed. So all the vibrations of the chanting from the throat directly travels up into the higher energy discs. So let's experiment. We will do this 3 times. Inhale in deep. And very gently take all the fingers off of the face and put both palms in the lap. Still keep eyes closed. And just be in the moment and feel what it feels at this moment. How was it?
Incredibly relaxing.
Incredibly relaxing, right? Yes. Wonderful feeling. That blocks all of our external vision and brings us inside and sets our mind to go into the next limb. So, yeah, someone said spacey, very well mentioned. Yes. Let's see what comes next. So they say our mind is capable of making somewhere around 60,000 to 100,000 thoughts a day. Let's imagine that each thought the mind is creating has at least this length thread. Let's just hypothetically think. And now can we imagine that one thread, second, third, fourth, 60,000, let's go to the minimum, 60,000 threads floating in, weaving into our brain. What kind of situation is that? It is overwhelming and it is naturally out of our control, and we cannot concentrate anywhere with all this different variety of thoughts flowing in our mind. So what is the healthy mind is like? Healthy mind, we learned the definition of the healthy body, but healthy mind is that one which feels joy, which can create quality thoughts, and the one which can stay steady. So by disengaging the senses, 5 senses, what happens? Because of the 5 senses, we take the information in that goes into the brain, and in the periphery that creates a vortex, the ripple movement in the periphery of the brain, and that it is like a small lake. From the periphery, the ripples go gradually into the center. So similarly, the external stimulations creates that ripples in the external periphery of the brain, and then it travels into the center. So practicing pratyahara is controlling the or disengaging the mind by controlling the reaction to the external disturbances. So when we have closed our senses, we will not react to the external stimulations and information. So that will immediately block all the ripples happening. And then if it is not happening in the periphery, the center where the mind is also going to be steady. And the mind is the reflection of the soul itself. But when the mind is disturbed, the soul, which is the vital energy residing in the center of the forehead, it cannot reflect well into the mind because the mind is already crowded. If the mind is crowded, the soul cannot rule as the self-sovereign in this temple of the body. And that's where we lose all the ability to be steady, calm, and stable. So that was the pratyahara. And the next limb is called dharana. So dharana is a Sanskrit word which it translates to as like a concentration or focusing. So has anyone ever tried to do the meditation looking at the candle or just gazing at one object and go into the meditation that way? That is one of the way one can go into the meditative state. But in the 8 limb yoga path, these are all like the stepping stones. We have to build one on top of the other. So as we just experienced the effect of the breathing, the pranayama, pratyahara, withdrawal of the senses, and then now when we try to focus our attention on something, it becomes very easier rather than just uncontrolled mind and trying to focus on something. It is going to be a little bit of harder chore. So we all have have you experienced any time in the life that while doing something, we just forgot about the time, we forgot about ourselves or what is happening around us, like completely absorbed into whatever activity we were doing? I believe we all have experienced it somewhere, sometime in our life. It may not be meditation, but something. So it could be like a favorite hobby of painting, listening to music, or walking in the nature, gazing at a beautiful sunset or sunrise. All of those can affect someone to get into it, like focused and absorbed and buried completely into that experience. So dharana is a limb that improves our concentration, mental strength, and the clarity. Dharana is ultimately the key to the liberation from the mind suffering. Because then we forget about when in this dharana, when we are absorbed and but completely one into something, we forget who we are and we become one with the object and we forget our suffering. So in this dharana, how can we practice this? To practice the dharana, it is also called like 1-point focus. To do that, we need attention, intention, and at the same time, relaxation. If our mind is not relaxed and is wavering everywhere, we are not able to focus at one point. It also needs some softness, some sort of ease and grace into us, and definitely no effort zone. This has to be done with very, very subtleness in our being. We don't have to do like active efforts. Oh, I want to focus. I want to focus. That's not the attitude one should have for this dharana. And then when we have these basic requirements, we are set at that point practicing the pratyahara, we are at ease and relaxed, then what is next? We need something to focus on. We need something to get engaged with. So what that something is? That something could be an object, a favorite person. We visualize that person with the mental eye, or we can keep a picture in front of us, some object, or maybe it is a sound dharana. When we get absorbed in some sort of rhythmic sound in the devotion path, that's why in the devotion path, there is a lot of musical devotion practices are there. So once we get engaged into that music and the certain chants or the kirtana, our mind gets engaged with all of that and we forget the external world and we become one with the one we have devotion for. In the other way, we can also use the example of candle. If a burning candle flame, if we just try to gaze is a soft gaze. It's not like a sharp gaze. Eyes are relaxed, our whole being is relaxed, and we just keep gazing at that flame. Eventually, the flame will come into our being and we become one with that. Same way with the sound, the vibrations travel in our whole being and we become one with that sound. So becoming one with whatever we are focusing on, that is the goal of this limb is dharana. And this is the step before we reach to the meditation and the ultimate liberation stage. So let's do this another practice. Before that, do anyone have any questions so far? Are we doing good?
Yes, I have a question.
Yes.
Please tell me again, in the first breathing exercise that you did, the full breathing.
Mm-hmm.
You had your hand here and your hand here.
Yeah.
Right? So,
yes.
The inhale, the diaphragm goes out and the chest goes up. And the exhale.
So let's do it again. When we inhale, diaphragm goes down and the belly. So we are not pressing our hands into the body, just slightly, right? So when we inhale deeper, the diaphragm is pressed down and the belly will force to come out into our hand. Right? And then we gently press that hand on the belly in. and exhale out. And do it again 2 more times.
Mhm.
Just do that.
Only the belly.
Only the belly,
Okay.
right? And
Mhm.
then we can expand. We can expand this inhale again. So we can add more inhalation, because when we did this, yes, the air is, our lungs are filled with the air, but not all the alveoli. The holes in the lungs are called alveoli. So all of them are not filled with it. So then we have room to breathe in. So let's do that belly breath again. Hold it there and inhale again, so that the chest will come into the hand. Hold, and then exhale in the opposite manner.
Okay, so when you exhale from here and then here.
Yes.
Okay. That's what I wanted to
Exhalation
make sure.
happens in the opposite, because when the air from the top goes out, then the air from the bottom will go out, right? So the
Exhale.
way has to be clear, right? It's that logic. So this is 2-part breath. Let's learn one more breathing, and we will also practice the Om sound with these 2 practices today. We will go to that dharana and focusing at last, but this is beautiful. For these and the yoga asana, when we practice the asanas, for example, let's experience that. Inhale and raise both hands up. And with the exhalation, we do the side bend. We do the side bend, right? So our one side is compressed and the other side is open. Now inhale here in the open side. And exhale. And next inhale, come back to center and release. So did you notice how we were able to breathe in that side of the body only, and the other side was just passively getting a little bit of air? So practicing yoga asana will make us able to breathe in all the parts of the lungs. Let's experience that with just a touch of our hands. So we already experienced the belly and the chest, right? So now we experience the side walls of the lungs. So place both palms on the sides, right? And we inhale such a way that the side walls of the lungs or the rib cage will come into your hands. So the belly is in, because we don't want diaphragm to go down. And exhale. Were you able to feel that? The rib cage is coming in our hands and then gradually goes back into its place when we exhale. So in real life, let's imagine, where can we use this sort of breath? In yoga poses, when we are folding forward, when the belly is compressed, we can use this sort of breath. But in real life, pregnant women, then when our stomach is full, sometimes we have experience when we eat out of our capacity, our belly is expanded and distorted. So diaphragm does not have room to go down, and we start feeling shortness of breath. But if we know this technique that, yeah, we can breathe into the sides of the lungs, then we are able to breathe deeply and get enough oxygen, right? So let's do this again, another experiment. cross both hands and put palms on the top here, shoulder area. And now we're going to breathe in such a way that this portion of the body will touch to our palms and fingers. So belly is in. We will suck the belly in and inhale here. And exhale. Beautiful. Let's do one more. Now we can take our hands in the back, top portion of the lungs, right? And we can feel the breath going into that portion as well. Again, sit straight and suck the belly in. Exhale and suck the belly in and inhale so that back of the lungs is expanding. Is it happening? Little bit, right? Yes. With practice, we can develop these skills. So this is helpful. We often tend to accumulate stress in the shoulder area, right? So if we do this mindful breathing, putting our hand in here and do this mindful breathing, it can release the stress accumulated here. Beautiful, right? Yoga is so beautiful, and it is self-healing technique. One more thing of the yoga is we can do that. I think we did that in the past. Be your own doctor. Be your own healing. I forgot the title, but there is a class in Anubhuti YouTube channel. So in that class, we learned that how different chemicals affect our well-being. So touch, yoga is, of course, parasympathetic nervous system activation, and it brings our whole being into the relaxed, digest and rest mode. But the touch, our own gentle touch to our own body also secretes very good hormones in our body. And that brings us relaxation, being loved. That hormone is called serotonin. So we don't need another person's touch or nothing. This just brings ourselves the happiness and joy of serotonin. So let's do that. Another experiment of I'm going to share sound with it. And these are the beautiful universal sound of Om. And we will try to focus our mind with the sound of Om. And we also try to practice the pranayama. So now, first we try to combine the pranayama and pratyahara by practicing the Shanmukhi mudra. And now we are combining the pranayama and dharana limbs. Okay, so let me share the sound. So just how we learned that 2-part breathe, long breathing, chest and belly. We will do that kind of breathe. We try to hold it for 2 or 3 seconds and then exhale out, pressing the belly. Exhale out from the chest and then the pressing the belly in completely, and then do the again breathe. And we will try to hear only the sounds of Om. We can keep our eyes closed or open, does not matter. And we can gaze either on the flame or in this center object of this point of light, throwing the rays out. How was it? Were you able to focus on the flame or the point of light, that dot? Anybody would like to share the experience? What happened when we just kept focusing on that one thing? What happened?
Very peaceful.
Very peaceful. Any visual effects?
It is almost like the graphic, the point you go into it, sort of, expands into it.
Yeah, I felt like it's expanding to me, and the rays are even sometimes moving. And so that was beautiful experience. Someone is saying, had an easier time focusing with my eyes closed, which surprised me. That's fine, because you disengage with external world, and that's easier to focus, and that's a normal thing. But this dharana, or focusing on an object or a picture or a dear one, or the most dear one is the most divine, is when done with open eyes, we can take that experience with us, because while doing the daily activities, we cannot keep our eyes closed all the time, right? Our eyes are open. And if we have created our pratyahara, is like taking control of the senses. Even if our eyes are open and we are able to take the control, that means we are in the self-sovereign state of mind. We are the sole supreme authority in this temple of the body and mind. So keep learning this skill with open eyes is very, very important. That way we are able to defocus, disengage from anything which is not giving us good vibes, or we are at uncomfortable situation. And like, I cannot close my eyes when people are around me and they are arguing on some things, or which is unpleasant to me. I still have to keep my eyes open, but then I learned the skill, withdraw my senses in and just focus mentally. With my mental eyes, I bring that favorite person or favorite object in my mental eye and start focusing on that. I can immediately withdraw my senses, my ears, my eyes from that situation, and be in my comfortable position, be in my inward journey. Our inner world is so beautiful, quiet and calm. We just experience that, right? That calmness. So this is always with us, but it is controlled and covered by the external impressions, external happenings. And in this time and age, things happen so fast. So many things happen, and we are able to be aware of all of that through the connection of social media. So whatever happens in like the rarest area of the world, we would know, which we don't need to know, but we know. So we get disturbed. Disturbing news, upsetting news, everything affects on us. And that's why the practice of pratyahara and dharana and focused, controlled, centric breath is very, very important to bring our being into the state of calmness and quietness. So connecting this to the Raja Yoga meditation, we learn that we need to focus on one divine. We become one with that, the only one. And that happens when we just learned. Some of us, myself, others, they did open eye focusing. They saw that object, the figure, and the rays were expanding and moving. And eventually, if we take this experience into longer time, what happens that we forget who we are, we forget our ego, our circumstances and everything, and we become one with that one object. And that's when we lose ourselves and we completely relax. And that is the ultimate treatment, ultimate healing method of whatever physical, mental, psychosomatic, whatever we call. When we forget about the tension, stress, our ego, that's where the healing starts happening. So who can be so beautiful and such divine that we can keep our focus for so long? That can be only one, right? That is the Supreme Soul. So with the practice of breathing, pratyahara and dharana, I hope these are very deeply set in our mindset right now. And then in the next session, we will still learn 2 more limbs, and we will combine all of these and have a beautiful meditative experience at the end. So let's do a meditation experience using all this. Before we do the meditation, I would like to show you. So from this point onward, we have understand that yoga of the body is not just the yoga poses, but it is much more than that. It is the way of living, right? And how can we practice that in our daily life? Let's see that. In our daily life, as soon as we wake up in the morning, ideally, the earliest time, like 4 a.m. is the best time to wake up. There are reasons to it. We can see that in the next week class, why that early AM is the best time. There are certain scientific and practical aspects to it. So as soon as we wake up, begin our day with a good sankalp, a thought, or a sacred intention, a desire or a vow. In the form of, we learned all those yamas, right? So we can take another a thought or another noble gesture that I'm going to practice these for whole day today, like non-violence. And we learn very deeply what non-violence is. It's not just non-killing, but it is much more than that. And what are subtle ways we practice violence out of our ignorance. So when we have the awareness that where we do the violence, where we violate others, where we violate ourselves, then we know that I can practice non-violence today and be aware of this. So that is the first step of practicing yoga of the mat on a daily basis. Then the pranayama we learned today, throughout the day, off and on, every hour or couple hours, we can just put everything aside, whatever we are doing for 2 minutes even, and just focus on our breath. That's the number 4 limb of pranayama. And just bring that fresh oxygen, which can ignite the fire in our body, and then expel or exhale everything bad, the toxins out of the body. So practice pranayama throughout the day. Whenever we practice pranayama, we can practice the saucha. Saucha we can practice 2 ways. It's like purity. We can eat pure food and we can have pure thoughts. So every time when we practice pranayama, every couple hours, we can also create good thoughts in our head. And that good thoughts will again generate the good chemicals in our body, and that will bring the healing and calmness in the body. Fuel the body with high vibrational meals, which are made of fresh ingredients. And then the another yamas was aparigraha, is non-possessiveness. Keep our space organized. That is the physical aspect of it. Keep our physical place organized. At the same time, the mental space also organized. We don't want any clutter, any unorganized thoughts in our head. And for that, we need to practice the pratyahara, right? So these are the ways we can live the yogic life on every single day. We can take one of the yamas and niyamas, practice the pranayama or pratyahara time to time throughout the day, and try to connect with that one, with the dharana, that divine throughout the day. At times, take time out of our routine, put everything aside, breathe quietly, withdraw the senses, be one with the divine. And that will bring beautiful changes, beautiful transformation in our whole being. Today, next Tuesday is our last class in this series. So let's do an experiment to live this yogic lifestyle for next 7 days. And we meet next Tuesday. I would love if there will be sharing of living this yogic lifestyle off the mat for 7 days and what kind of results this life brought in. So let's do some meditation before we end. We will just sit. This time we try to keep our eyes open. Situate our legs in an easy way if we are sitting on a chair. Spinal cord is completely straight, like as if someone is drawing the finger from the bottom of the spine on one vertebrae going upward. Make it straight, straight, straight. And lastly, in the neck, tuck the chin in, but still the head is straight. This is the perfect position for the spine for this short practice we are gonna do. This is open eye pratyahara practice. Okay? Pratyahara plus dharana. So now try and find something on which you can gaze. It can be in your own space there. You don't need to focus on the screen. Gaze it onto that object, and with the mental eye, take the attention from the top of the head and relax whatever it is there, the tension, the crowding of thoughts. And then we go a little bit downward about the temples. Just check if the temples are stressed, eyebrows are up. Relax the forehead. Sometimes we have habit to pull the ears up. Relax ears. And check the spine Again, while in the process of relaxing the rest of the body, the spine should not lose that attention. That is the straight body organ we have created, which we don't want to lose. And move further down to the throat, cheeks, shoulders, chest, shoulder blades, and quickly go on scanning your own body and make it relax all the way to the toes. And if we still don't feel like it's not relaxed, just start again. Without losing that attention and straightness of the spine, relax rest of the body. And once the body is relaxed, feel the temperature on the skin. Feel the touch of the clothing on the skin. And try to hear the sounds in the room. While trying to hear the sounds, keep the gaze on that one spot. Very soft gaze. Try to hear the sounds from outside of the room. Maybe try to hear the sounds from outside of the home. And go farther and farther until that sound becomes silence. And focus on the breathe. Easy nasal breathing. Watch the thoughts. Visualize each thought as a thread. And when it comes, arises in the mind, just blow it lightly and see it flying away. And do the same thing with another thought. And let's focus again on the breath. Imagine there is a feather sitting on the tip of the nose. And we don't want it to fly off. Very slow, subtle breath. And slowly bring awareness back to the breath. Deep inhale. And a very long exhale out. Next, long inhalation. And normal exhale out. One more long inhalation. And subtle exhale out. And slowly bring awareness back into this moment. Om Shanti.